Shastinban.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be looking at the military schools available for the Ottomans in Age of Empires 4. Military schools are a unique building available for the Ottoman civilization. They are buildings which produce units for free but with a longer training time. As of Season 11, they train at 4.75 times the normal production speed. Each school costs 150 wood and 100 stone, and can train only spearmen in Dark Age but unlock more units as they age up. Feudal grants access to archers, Sipahi, the Ottoman unique horsemen, Mehter, the Ottoman support cavalry. Castle unlocks men-at-arms and crossbowmen, however, they can also unlock janissaries and knights, the Advanced Academy Vizier point, which also grants 25% increased production speed. Speaking of unit production speed, it can be increased when the production building is close to a blacksmith or university. It starts at 20% in Feudal and increases by 10% with each age up, making it 30% in Castle and 40% in Imperial. However, the Istanbul Observatory landmark for Imperial increases its value to 100%. As I mentioned previously, the Advanced Academy Vizier point also increases production speed by 25%. I remember DC mentioning in a guide that military schools give about the same resources per minute, independently of what unit you select. So, I got curious and decided to do a little investigative journalism. Later, I will also talk about the Grand Galley unique ship, which can be turned into a military school ship, and the Mehmed Imperial Armory, which grants a military school that produces siege instead. The base production time for units with no blacksmith is of 71 seconds for spearmen and archers, 142 seconds for Sipahi and Akinji, 132 seconds for Mehter, 107 seconds for men-at-arms and crossbowmen, knights train in 169 seconds and janissaries in 113 seconds. Though, do keep in mind that these two units will always have an extra 25 production speed since there is no way to get them without Advanced Academy, and this time includes that bonus, which will lower the production time of other units as a side effect. These values grant about 68 resources per minute, making the initial payoff time about 3.7 minutes, without the influence of a blacksmith of course, with the exception of Mehters, which will always have more value in their productions to about 82 resources per minute. Though I don't advise setting all your military schools to Mehter production since that would be a pretty awkward fight. Advanced Academy will raise the resources per minute to 84 and Mehter to 102. Though I would not expect anyone to have Advanced Academy and not the blacksmith influence, so realistically this brings the resources per minute to 102 in Feudal and 110 in Castle for non-Mehter units. Here's where things really start to kick off, and not having one or two schools at this point in the game really starts to hurt the longer the game goes on. Spearmen and archers produce in about 45 seconds now. Sipahi, Akinji and janissaries now take 87 to 81 seconds, while crossbows and men-at-arms take close to 65 seconds. Knights are the slowest of the bunch, taking around 125 seconds. Now for Imperial, the age up you take really changes how the rest of the game will play, since going Seagate Castle only gives a 10% increase in production speed, only increasing resources per minute by about 8. Going Istanbul Observatory instead increases by a whopping 70% in total, essentially selecting Advanced Academy 3 times in a row. The best combination for military schools is selecting Advanced Academy and Military Campus Vizier points and aging up with Istanbul Observatory in Imperial, bringing the theoretical resources per minute to around 170, about 2.5 times the initial resources per minute from Dark Age. Training times are now close to regular training times for the units. Spearmen and archers take 28 seconds, Sipahi, Akinji and janissaries take 56 seconds, Mehter only 3 seconds less, crossbows and men-at-arms take 43 seconds and knights 85. This is what makes Ottoman a great late-game civilization, since the units don't stop producing, even if they run out of gold. The best units to create for the best gold outcome are, from best to worst, janissaries, Mehter, knights, crossbowmen, and men-at-arms. However, choosing Seagate Castle and missing Advanced Academy really hurts Ottoman late game, especially since you can't create your best gold-intensive units, having to resort to making crossbows at 30 gold a minute for your best outcome. The military school best resource generation limit is of 850 resources per minute in the form of units, assuming you don't select one to produce method, which would raise this to about 880. However, the scenario I mentioned previously reduces this limit to 380 resources per minute. We're losing about 5 sacred site holds simultaneously. So, Seagate Castle should only be used when securing a site that will win the game definitely, otherwise you'll be worse the longer the game goes on. For comparison, the Abbasid Dynasty Imperial Military Wing Egypt gives 3 hand cannoneers once. The best outcome for Ottoman grants 5 every minute, though Janissaries excel against cavalry and light armor units. That's it for military schools. On land. The Grand Galley is a unique ship that is available from Castle Age and can be turned into a military school immediately at no cost. This ship can then garrison to 25 of the trainable units, which can also be used as a transfer ship, though it will stop producing once reaching the 25 capacity limit. Unlike transport ships, it has 750 HP, no armor, and shoots 3 projectiles, dealing 35 damage each from a 9.5 tile range. As for training time, it produces units at the same rate as military schools with the Blacksmith influence and are affected by Advanced Academy and Istanbul Observatory for most units. With update 12.0.1974, released in October 2024, the training time for Akinji, Janissaries, and Knights was reduced by 25 to 28% to keep the resources per minute in line with the rest of non-Mector units. However, this was not adjusted for the Grand Galley. This means that Knights used to train in 104 seconds in Castle, 66 seconds in Imperial, Akinji with no Advanced Academy trained in 87 and then 70 seconds along with Janissaries. Both trained in 45 seconds in Imperial with Istanbul Observatory. In Castle, this increases the resources per minute by 20, exceeding the Method time, and Imperial with IO, about 45 resources per minute more than other units. It's crazy to think that before October 2024, military schools were producing more than 1,070 resources per minute if choosing to produce Janissaries or Knight. This patch also explains why the training time for these 3 units jumps up when trained in military schools, since that was the time it took pre-patch, before shortly jumping to the correct times. I do think that this has a null effect on the win rate of Ottoman in water maps, since it's been about 9 months since that patch and no one has noticed this, because no one plays Ottoman on water. The Mehmed Imperial Academy is the same principle behind the schools, only producing siege instead of units. However, I should mention that it does not get affected by Advanced Academy, since it technically doesn't count as a military school, only functions like one. It produces Springles in 81 seconds, Mangonels in 180, Rebs in 166, battering rams in 87, great bombards in 321 seconds, and Rebaldicans in 215 seconds without the influence of a blacksmith. If we translate this to resources per minute, most produce at about 200, with a battering ram being the worst choice and don't know why anyone would pick it, and great bombards and Rebaldicans as the best, though these can only be trained starting Imperial. The Blacksmith influence reduces this time by about a third, in both Castle and Imperial with no Observatory agent. However, if you're aiming for free siege, I would recommend aging up with Istanbul Observatory, since it brings training times to 40 seconds for Springons, 89 for Mangonels, 82 for Trebs, 44 for battering rams, 160 for great bombards, and 107 for Rebaldicans. Again, translating this to resources per minute, it becomes double what it was since aging up to Castle, bringing this number to about 400 resources per minute, and about 470 for the Imperial Siege. If translating this to gold per minute, the Imperial Siege is your best choice, since it's about 300 gold a minute, or holding all 3 sacred sites on the map for the rest of the game. Castle Siege grants mostly a benefit in wood instead of gold. Thank you for sticking to the end of the video. This is my first one. I hope to do more of these deep dives into the statistics of AoE 4. If you have anything you'd like to see, please leave it down in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing since it really helps out the channel. That'll be all for this one. Thanks for watching.